Have you ever wondered why, despite being a strong, loving, and spiritual woman, you ended up involved with someone who hurt you so deeply? Why would God allow you to cross paths with a narcissist? What if I told you that this encounter wasn't a mistake, but a divine summons for your spiritual awakening? According to the World Health Organization, 1 in 3 women worldwide has suffered physical or sexual violence from an intimate partner. But what about when the abuse is invisible, silent, emotional? When the aggressor doesn't raise a hand but destroys your soul with words, manipulations, and silences? Indian philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti stated, "The crisis is within. The crisis is of consciousness." What if the narcissist was the catalyst for this crisis that led you to look inward, to question your beliefs, to seek your true essence? In this video, we will explore how abusive relationships can be the starting point for a profound spiritual awakening. We will understand how pain can be a teacher, how suffering can be a call, and how, even in darkness, it's possible to find light. Often, we believe that our romantic encounters are the result of chance, destiny, or wrong choices. But what if in reality these encounters are calls from our soul for evolution? French philosopher Blaise Pascal said, "The heart has its reasons, which reason knows nothing of." Perhaps your heart was drawn to this relationship, not out of weakness but from a deep need for healing? Psychologist Anna Beatrice Barboser states, "Abusive relationships don't start with shouting or prohibitions. They begin subtly questioning your clothes, disapproving looks, emotional blackmail disguised as love. These subtle signs can be seen as invitations for you to look inward, recognize your wounds, and begin a process of self-knowledge." In Spiritism, it's believed that nothing happens by chance. Every encounter has a purpose. Every challenge is an opportunity for growth. Medium Divaldo Franco, in his works psychographed by Joanna De Angelis, speaks about the importance of relationships as instruments of spiritual evolution. Therefore, instead of blaming yourself for getting involved with a narcissist, ask yourself, what did my soul need to learn from this experience? Have you ever wondered why you felt so attracted to someone who, deep down, reflected everything you feared or rejected in yourself? The narcissist was just the trigger. The healing is yours. The awakening is yours. The liberation also. How many times have you asked yourself that question? Why did I stay so long? Why did I accept so much? And maybe, even now, you blame yourself for not leaving sooner. But what if I told you that your soul knew exactly what it was doing? You didn't stay out of weakness. You stayed because you were in a process. Because inside you there was still something that believed it could save, heal, or simply be loved. The empathy that made you endure abuse is also what makes you a sensitive, intuitive, and evolved soul. But the narcissist saw that as weakness and used it against you. The soul always knows what to do to heal itself. The challenge is to silence the mind. Carolyn misses, yes, you stayed because you needed to understand. You needed to see with your own eyes. You needed that shock of reality to finally awaken. And when you finally saw the truth, something inside you changed forever. There's no turning back. Now, you feel you're awake. As a therapist, I always say liberation doesn't start when you leave the relationship. It starts when you stop blaming yourself for staying. You stayed because you were spiritually maturing. Your soul knew that only by going through it would you find yourself. And now, here you are, whole awakening. It may seem cruel to think that someone who emotionally destroyed you had a spiritual role in your life. But what if I told you that the narcissist was the trigger, not the cause of your deepest transformation? No one awakens in calm waters. Spiritual awakening comes from the breakdown, the collapse, the moment when everything you believed about love, about yourself, and about God falls apart. The narcissist wasn't sent to love you. He was sent to show you where you didn't love yourself. He didn't show up to care for you, but to reveal all the parts of you that needed care. What you do not bring to consciousness appears in your life as fate. Carl Jung, the way he manipulated, lied, seduced you, and then emotionally punished you, every bit of that forced you to look inward and ask, why am I accepting this? Who am I? Really? And it was there, in rock bottom, that God spoke to you. In the silence, in the abandonment. When no one else saw you, God saw you, and he showed you that this pain was the beginning of your freedom. You don't need to forgive the narcissist now, nor see him as a teacher. But understanding his role is essential for your healing, because when you understand the why, you stop repeating the pattern. You stop seeking the same wound in new faces. You stop being a prisoner and become awakened consciousness. Maybe you believed that spiritual awakening would be soft, full of peace, bathed in lights and angels. But the truth is, awakening hurts a lot. It's a rupture, a deep break. It's the moment when you realize that everything you believed about love, about others, about yourself wasn't real. When you discover you were being manipulated, that the person who claimed to love you was actually draining your essence, that the signs were there the whole time and you didn't want to see, that shatters you, but it is in that shattering that the light lives. Not the mystical light you see on social media, but the true light, awareness. The soul waking up to its mission, to its strength, to its truth. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Rumi. That's why the process is so lonely. Because few people understand it. Many judge. They say you're dramatic weak, that you like to suffer. But only those who have lived through this collapse know. Awakening is a sacred pain. A pain that saves? You are freeing yourself from illusion. You are no longer led by limiting beliefs and are beginning to listen to your soul. And that, my dear, is not weakness. It is rebirth. If you feel lost, exhausted, broken, maybe you are exactly where you're meant to be in this process. Because what seems like the end is, in truth, the beginning. Have you felt that the more aware you become, the more alone you feel, that no one understands what you're going through? And even those who were always around started to drift away. That's real. And it happens to almost everyone who awakens spiritually. Because awakening is stepping out of the matrix. It's seeing what others still can't. And that scares people. Not just you, those around you too. You begin to reject superficial relationships, empty conversations, old patterns. You begin to fall silent where you once screamed, and isolate yourself where you once sought crowds. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer said, "Solitude is the destiny of all great souls." And you, who spent so long trying to be accepted, now find yourself being pushed away. But that's not punishment. It's a sacred process. God is separating you to reveal you. The soul that awakens needs silence. It needs emptiness, because it's in the void that she finds her voice. You are not alone. You are being repositioned. Everything that is falling to make room for the new, for the right people, for the version of you that is being born now. Solitude, as painful as it feels, is a womb. You are being gestated by spirituality itself. And when this cycle ends, you will be reborn whole, connected, and at peace. You didn't leave because you wanted to. You left because there was no way to stay, because something greater than you pulled your soul out and ripped you from that abyss. And maybe, at the time you didn't understand, it hurt. You still loved him, still believed, still hoped he would change. But God didn't want to wait. He acted. There are moments when the spiritual realm says, enough. And in that enough, he pulls. You, though it hurts, though you weren't ready. Because he knew that if you stayed a little longer, you wouldn't survive emotionally. What feels like the end is often God's hand pulling you from the bottom. Inspired by Eckhart Tolle, the narcissist had the power to break you because you still believed in him, still handed him the key to your soul. But God wants you whole, not broken, not dependent, not silent in the face of pain. Many women have told me that after it ended, they went through the worst days of their lives, but they also finally started to breathe again, to sleep, to smile, to think about themselves. That is the miracle of divine rupture. If you feel like you were pulled away by force, don't resist it. Accept that it was God acting out of love. Even if you don't understand it now, one day you'll be grateful you were saved from what you thought was love. You are alive. You are here. And heaven doesn't make mistakes. After everything ends, there is silence. And in the silence, there is emptiness. But it is in that space where once there was pain, confusion, fear that true healing begins. Spiritual healing is not just prayer, herbs, or signs in the sky. Healing is facing the inner mess. It is looking in the mirror and saying, I got lost, but now I find myself. Trauma with a narcissist is not like any pain. It disconnects you from your essence, convinces you that you are wrong, inadequate, unworthy. That's why healing must go deep to the root of your soul. You don't need to fix your soul. It was never broken. It was just covered. Paramahansa Yoga. The first step is acceptance. Don't romanticize what you went through. Don't justify the unjustifiable. Name what was abuse. Yes, it was manipulation. Yes, it was cruelty disguised as love. The second step is to rebuild the connection with the divine within you. Feel again. Meditate. Breathe deeply. Listen to yourself. Because after so much invalidation, your greatest power will be trusting your inner voice again. And finally, surround yourself with living energy. People who look into your eyes. Places that nourish you. Words that elevate you. Post-trauma is fertile ground. And now, you are the seed, choosing what to bloom into. Healing is not a straight line. It has setbacks, longings, doubts, but every step you take, even trembling, is a miracle of your soul in reconstruction. One of the greatest losses a relationship with a narcissist causes is not love, nor time, it's your connection to your own intuition. You began to doubt yourself, to silence that inner voice that said, something's wrong. He made you believe you were crazy, too sensitive, too much. And little by little, you stopped listening to yourself, stopped feeling what your soul was screaming. But now it's time to return. Return to your inner temple. Intuition is the voice of God whispering to the soul. Plato, reconnecting with the divine, isn't just looking at the sky, it's looking within. It's remembering that God never left you. Even when you strayed from him, even in the moments you begged for signs, and all you heard was silence, he was there, waiting for you to return. Start slowly. Breathe. Feel your body. Allow yourself to be silent. Intuition doesn't shout, it whispers. And now that the noise of abuse has faded, you can begin to hear it again. You are a woman with a sensitive soul, spiritual, intuitive, and all the pain you lived through didn't erase that. Essence, it only made it sleep. Now, it's waking up, and with it, your power. Speak to the divine like someone returning home, without fear, without shame, without guilt, because he never abandoned you, and deep down, you always knew that. You are no longer the woman who entered this relationship. You are also no longer the one who stayed lost, confused, trying to understand what you did wrong. You are the one who survived. And more than that, you woke up. Do not underestimate what it means to have seen the truth. To see narcissism for what it is without romanticizing, without justifying, requires immense spiritual strength. You broke the spell. And now you walk with awareness. True liberation begins when the illusion ends. Buddha. This rebirth isn't made of applause. It's made of silent reconstruction, of nights crying curled up, followed by mornings where you choose to get up even without strength, of learning to love yourself again, slowly, like someone caring for a flower battered by the wind. Now you see yourself more clearly. You know what you will no longer accept. You know the kind of love you deserve. And above all, you know that you no longer need to beg for affection to exist. This is the turning point. It's not about forgetting what you lived, but about integrating it. About using the scars as spiritual armor. About walking with your head held high. Knowing that nothing and no one can dim you again. You were reborn. And this time, for you. Whole, conscious, divine. Now, it's you who chooses who stays, and who never enters again.